narrative. Destroy Prison Planet TV.
You gotta set your eye on the enemy, not worry about what propaganda they put out. Intellectually, it's begun. You can feel it.
Introducing Secret 12, the new InfoWars Life vitamin B12 formulation. Secret 12 is a binary of nutramedical grade, bioavailable coenzyme forms of B12, methylcobalamin, the same kind used in B12 injections, and adenosylcobalamin. Secret 12 is simply taken by mouth, right on the tongue, and then swallowed. No needles, no injections. Secure your revolutionary Secret 12 formula right now at InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.
The government's Department of Homeland Security is buying up loads of ammo. At the same time, they're restricting civilians' rights to own and purchase firearms. Can you put two and two together? Infidel Body Armor can stop every round, including hollow points and .308 sniper rounds, is reasonably priced and fully legal. But for how long? Go to InfidelBodyArmor.com, spelled I-N-F-I-D-E-L, bodyarmor.com. Infidel Body Armor. Just won't quit.
Aging starts at the cellular level. When cells become toxic, they die early and aging sets in. In the past decade, we have witnessed unparalleled scientific discoveries. During that period, key patented compounds have focused on mitochondrial growth, nerve growth, and rejuvenation. But no one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. We now have the synergistic solution, DNA Force, just one of the key compounds. BioPQQ is backed by major clinical studies and over 175 PubMed-listed published studies. You want the best that's out there at the lowest price anywhere? The ultimate value, cutting-edge, trailblazing game changer that also supports the InfoWar. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. DNA Force from InfoWars Life.
Another major health threat, this one in Toledo, Ohio, where everybody in the entire city has been told not to drink the water.
Ohio's governor declaring a state of emergency.
Did you know that the average person uses about 80 to 100 gallons of water at home every single day? If there's a water emergency, will you be prepared?
Panicked residents forming long lines throughout the day.
We're here at a supermarket in Toledo. You can see the shelves empty where water once was.
To stay safe and healthy during a crisis, you must have access to safe, clean water. Water which will not be available at your local grocery store.
There's a mad dash on right now to stock up on supplies.
The ProPure Pro 1 G2.0 water filtration system is a must-have for every modern, independently minded household. Protect your family's safety during an emergency. Go to InfoWarsStore.com today to purchase your ProPure Pro 1 G2.0 water filtration system or call 1-888-253-3139.
You're listening to The Alex Jones Show. We are on the march. The Empire is on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. Now, just before the break, we began to talk about what I believe is an amazing revelation about the FAA's attitude towards SSRIs. And of course, we have pointed out many, many times the common connection between people committing suicide, many times preceded by the murder of their family or people in their immediate vicinity with absolutely no feeling whatsoever for anyone, including themselves. And that's apparently what we're seeing from this pilot. Now, when I started looking for it, I started looking to see if I could find a connection with SSRIs. And I found a couple of sites that actually did mention SSRIs because they kept saying that he was depressed. He was getting medication. They would not name the medication. They wouldn't even mention what class of medication it was, just that it was medication for being depressed. And of course, we know that the medication of choice for that illness is to give people SSRIs, which if you read the insert says that it produces suicidal thoughts. One of the things that they talk about especially is the discontinuation syndrome. In other words, when you stop it, it gets much, much worse. So you go to a psychiatrist, you're depressed, you're having suicidal thoughts. He gives you a medication that exacerbates that. And then when you realize that it's having really bad side effects in many other ways on you, and there are a lot of side effects with these SSRIs, when you realize that it's got these other side effects and you want to get off of this drug, you can't get off of it. It's very dangerous to get off of it. That's when it becomes even more dangerous than when you're taking it or when you weren't taking it. So I'm looking for these SSRI connections, and I found a couple of articles. One of them was Voice of America, you know, the propaganda outlet from the American government that was prohibited in the United States, was created to go after the Russians and the Eastern Bloc as the Cold War began. And it was banned from operating in the United States, but they repealed that a couple of years ago because, you know, we have to be propagandized. They're not winning the propaganda war, the information war. They admit they're losing it. They admit that it's just mindless propaganda. So they've brought that back. Well, it was interesting. That was one of the ones that turned up and mentioned SSRIs as being the depressants. And then when I went to look at the article, that had been taken out. I found another one that mentioned SSRIs. That had been taken out as well. I screenshot the Google searches, but it's absolutely amazing. But I did find this on the Washington Post. They said commercial pilots in the United States are grounded by FAA regulations if they're taking certain prescription drugs, including all sedatives, all tranquilizers, all antipsychotic drugs, and all antidepressants except for Prozac, Zoloft, Celexa, Lexapro, the SSRIs. It pays to have friends in high places, doesn't it? And that was removed in 2010. So all antidepressants, all sedatives, all psychotic drugs, all tranquilizers, as you would expect, would be banned for pilots. But then they removed that just for SSRIs. The drugs that we know have these suicidal mass murder tendencies. We have documented this over and over again. You can go to multiple sites and get a long list. We've run it at our site as well. A long list of people that were involved with SSRIs that went on killing sprees. And it doesn't have to be a gun. Of course, that's the way they always spin it. They say, well, we got to get rid of the guns. No, you have to get rid of the source, the thing that's making people suicidal and turning them into mass murderers, because they can kill people with airplanes as well. They say a pilot must also be on a stable dose of those medications for at least 6 months prior to flying. In other words, that's the discontinuation syndrome. Now, what did the FAA say? So I looked at this a little bit closer. The FAA, here's the actual ruling going back to April 2nd, 2010. The FAA says, we approve SSRIs for medical certification. Pilots taking certain types of common antidepressants may soon return to the air. Isn't that comforting? The FAA announced that it will allow special issuance medical certification for pilots who take 4 common medications for certain types of depressive disorders. Beginning April 5th, 2010, the agency will consider, for all classes of medical certification, the use of Prozac, Zoloft, Celexa, and Lexapro. And they said this: before deciding to allow the medications, which are all SSRIs, the FAA conducted an extensive review of literature assessing the risks and the benefits of antidepressant usage. Where do you think they got that literature? That was probably supplied to them by Big Pharma that sells the SSRIs and funds the studies and writes the literature. So there you go. So now they're saying, well, you know, they may face stricter psych evaluations, fine, but stop giving them SSRIs. That's key. Of course, Time Magazine comes out and they say, well, we think the problem is privacy. He didn't have to report that, and the airline couldn't look at all of the aspects of his own personal private life. No, that's not the answer. That is not the answer. Giving up our privacy is always what's being pushed by the corporate media here in America, but that is not the answer. The answer is to stop SSRIs. The answer is not to ban privacy. The answer is not to ban planes. The answer is not to ban guns. The answer is to ban the mass murder suicide pills that we call SSRIs. This is just another example of that. Now, I've been talking about this drill that's going on in Fort Lauderdale. We're going to go to that in just a moment. But before we do, I want you to think about the fact that this video that we've got here, which I think is pretty disturbing when I looked at it. It disturbs me because I understand what's behind this. I understand what they've been training for. I've walked through Fort A.P. Hill, where they were training in a very explicitly fully intact American city to do operations there. That was a base within a base. Asymmetric warfare. Unconventional warfare is another part of it. But of course, we had a citizen journalist who pulled this up, and there's some clips for people who are watching this now. That's when we were walking over to the area that Big said looked like the place where they were torturing people in Iraq. And of course, that was connected with an underground tunnel that went across the street to the mosque. There was an underground tunnel in both of those buildings. Looked like they were directly across from each other. And then, of course, there's a church just to the right-hand side, the soccer field. Everything else about that was total small-town America. They put the mosque up large and center so they could tell people, oh, this is for foreign countries, for the Islamists. Listen, just as Madison said, if tyranny ever comes to our land, it will come in the guise of fighting a foreign enemy. It is not about that. We stood at the corner of 1st and Main at Fort A.P. Hill in the Asymmetric Warfare Center. That is an American city that they're training to fight in. But I want you to think about this. There's been, of course, a constant back and forth about whether or not we have a right to film our government in public. They maintain they have a right to not only film us in public, but to look and examine us and collect data on us in private without a search warrant. But we are not allowed to take pictures of our masters. And so we see that there's a bill being introduced in the state of Montana that would require a permit to film on private property, providing penalties, defining law enforcement of officers, and requiring release waivers for certain persons. But of course, it is really, the title is an act revising laws related to filming law enforcement officers during the conduct of official duties. That's precisely when they should be filmed. Exactly. We're not interested in filming them as they go about their private life. They should have a private life just as we should have a private life. But the very government that doesn't want us, including the officers, to have any privacy at home, also says that when they are on official duty, they should not be filmed. That's precisely when they should be filmed. And so they have an idea. They're going to give you a permit to film law enforcement activities with a lot of stipulations on it. But listen to this part. A law enforcement agency that allows a law enforcement officer to be accompanied and filmed retains full control over the content of any recording and must approve its use and any edited versions of the content before the content or edited content may be aired. There you go. They retain full editorial control even after the fact. So if you film something that they don't like, it doesn't go up. And see, that's the problem with the body cameras on the officers. They retain full editorial control. That's a very dangerous thing. Stay with us. Right after we come back, we're going to show you this video that happened and the training exercise that happened in Fort Lauderdale that was done without permission of law enforcement or the military. Like we had a free country, but we won't have it for long if they keep doing these kinds of exercises and do them for real. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Used since before the days of the Roman Empire to support the body's natural systems. Introducing the new InfoWarsLife.com oil of oregano formulation. We have now procured the most high quality and potent forms of oregano oil on the market. Extracted directly from the wild herb and sealed in easy-to-use capsules. You will no longer need to endure the burning of liquid oregano on the tongue. Now available in our limited first run at InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139. Alex Jones here. For the last 2 years, I've been working with top doctors, nutritionists, and chemists to design a nutraceutical formulation that has truly life-changing health benefits. Introducing the all-new Ancient Defense Herbal Immunity Blend. Experience the benefits of combining over 14 ancient herbs and extracts with exciting new advances in nutraceutical science. Visit InfoWarsLife.com or call 1-888-253-3139. That's InfoWarsLife.com. For all of recorded history, civilizations around the world praised the health benefits of silver. At InfoWars Life, our mission is to bring you the highest quality, purest, cleanest, effective colloidal silver on the market today for the lowest price available. You don't have to be a doctor to know. The fall and winter months are the most dangerous time of year in North America when it comes to you and your family's health. InfoWarsLife.com is very excited to announce our biggest run yet of of Silver Bullet Colloidal Silver, exclusively available at InfoWarsLife.com. Now, InfoWarsLife.com has taken colloidal silver to the next level using a cutting-edge technique that is free of toxic artificial additives. Now more than ever, it's important to stock up on high-quality Silver Bullet from InfoWarsLife.com. No